on. And I thought, you know what? Laura just started a trend, and I thought, I'm putting my hat on now.
Now I'm gonna have to go and see if I do have a hat over there, but I don't want to jump off the screen. But later on, I'll show. No, I won't leave now. But later on, I'll show other people the hat as well. It's my grandfather's hat. He's no longer, and it's it's a hat that I got passed down from him. So very, very cool stuff. So Joe, I want to maximize our time. We only have a short amount of time together this time, so I'm gonna do a bit of Q&A, and if you're open for it, I might open it up to Q&A. So maybe like 15 of each.
Yeah, bring it on.
Well, where I think I'll start, if you're okay with it, is I asked you about this recently, but people commented on it afterward, and I know we have a whole bunch of people that wouldn't have heard you say it. So I know a lot of people probably discovered your work through The Secret, and you had shared the story with us about sort of how The Secret came together. I've had people say, how can I get in a documentary like The Secret? And I figured maybe I'll ask somebody who's been in one. You mentioned listening to your intuition in deciding to say yes. So can you share with us either a bit about that or what you recommend if people want to try to get picked up like you did in such a big project that is so monumental?
It's a great question, but it probably requires a long answer. I'm going to do my best to be really direct here. First of all, I was invited to be in the movie The Secret because I'm an author. I had written a book called The Attractor Factor, and Rhonda Byrne over in Australia read the book, reached out to me, and said she wanted to make a movie and she wanted me to be in it. And at that point in time, I had been on TV a few times. I hadn't been in a movie, hadn't thought of myself as movie material. And I thought, I'm not going to even do this. I mean, I don't know who this woman is. But I politely said, if you get it together, give me a call. Figured I'd never hear from her again. But 30 days later, she did call. And I was so busy at that point, I almost didn't do it. I told her, I said, I'm just booked. I can't go and film a movie. And she wanted me to go to Chicago, and I was living in Texas. She said, look, I'll fly you first class in the morning. We'll shoot you in the early afternoon, put you on a plane back, first class back home, all done in a day. I listened to my intuition, which said, say yes, even when it's the unknown, and even when you're scared, and even when you have no experience, and even if you think like this is a silly waste of time. And of course, the rest is history, because that movie made history. And still people are watching it, and I get recognized today, almost 17 years later, from strangers on the street. And I don't even look like I did, 17 years ago. So it's pretty amazing. Now, that's the first level. The second level of how that movie came to be, and it's important for everybody to realize this, I was in a mastermind at the time. In the mastermind, the traditional Napoleon Hill thing, 6 or 7 people get together, we're supporting each other, we think big, and we don't always have the resources, but we have the encouragement. We say, you can do it, and hold the vision. And I walked in one day, and I said I wanted to be in a movie. And I said I wanted to be a major movie, and I wanted a major role. I didn't want to be a character actor sitting in the back of the room with my back to the camera, and I have to tell everybody, see that guy at the bar way in the back? That's me. No, I want it on camera. And nobody in my mastermind had experience with movies or TV or anything like that, but they held the vision. And it was 4 weeks later that I got the call from Rhonda. And I tell this story because it's kind of the mystical background to how this came to be. I had an intention and I had a vision, and I said it to the people who can support me. And then the other reason, which in many ways is more obvious, is the one where I had written a book on the law of attraction. She was making a movie on the law of attraction. Now, the third part of your question was, how can somebody else either be in a movie or create the movie? Listen, everybody and his brother got a camera and started making movies right after The Secret came out. Nick Ortner, who is the Tapping Solution fellow, who has the movie The Tapping Solution, he was one of the early ones. And I've interviewed him several times because he's successful, the movie's successful. And I said, did you have experience making movies? He said, no, I had a Blockbuster rental card. If you remember, Blockbuster is where he used to rent movies. He rented a lot of movies, and he had a credit card. That's his experience. And with his movie watching experience and his credit card, he bought equipment and he winged it, and reached out. And after he interviewed somebody like me, and he would say, who do you know that might be in the movie? I introduced him to Jack Canfield and other people that ended up in the movie. So how do you make a movie? You get your credit card out, you get your iPhone out these days. You don't even have to buy heavy duty equipment. And you state your vision, you state your intention, and you start putting the word out. Hey, I'm going to be making this movie. Would you like to be in it? One reason I'm in 30 some movies is because people have credit cards and iPhone cameras. So it's still going on. I'm being filmed for another movie next week. Then I'm flying to LA for another movie. Hey, it's fun and it's easy.
Well, and that's amazing. I saw Laura in the comments that just start. Get the word out. She's literally our note taker. So
yeah. And I do think decision is really the key to getting anything done. You just freaking decide, I'm doing this. I don't know how to do this. I don't have any experience doing this. I don't have any connections doing this, but I'm doing this. And from that, you take the very first step. That step leads to the next step. Before you know it, you're on shows talking about your movie because it's done.
Amazing. And you have a movie coming out next year. Am I correct?
I do. It's called Zero Limits, based on one of my most successful books. And it's important to understand it took 3 years to get this done. 2 years was crowdfunding. So we were raising the money to make the movie. And this entire past year was filming the movie. And you're not doing it, in my case, consistently. You know, it's like one day a month. I have a guest come in, I have a movie crew come in, and over time it gets done. Right now, everything has been filmed. We are creating original music for it. Some of my music will be in the movie in spots. And early next year, Zero Limits will be out there on Amazon, Netflix, and probably wherever you can watch a movie. So there you go.
So now you opened up a different question I want to ask, which is about the crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Which crowdfunder did you use? Did you use like one of the main crowdfunding sources to raise the funds for?
Well, first of all, I love crowdfunding. I absolutely love crowdfunding. Dreams come true with crowdfunding. And I actually don't remember if it was Kickstarter or which is one of the early ones and one of my favorites. Well, I don't remember which one it was at this point. It's probably on zerolimitsmovie.com if somebody wanted to go explore it a little bit. But I got to tell you a couple stories here. With crowdfunding, I've known people who have had health problems and they've raised the money that they needed to do the medical treatments or the alternative medical treatments. And one of my favorite stories is I went to Madrid, Spain before COVID. This is many years ago. And a lot of speakers were brought in. A man who had made a lot of money on the internet was writing big checks. He was paying me big money. 17 big name speakers were flown in. The guy who put all of this together, the night before the event, he collapsed in fear. He had second thoughts about everything he was spending. He put out a lot of money and started realizing that, oh, I'm now falling into scarcity, even though he was into abundance, which is why he started the movement to make this thing happen. And the morning of the event, 5,000 people could not get in the doors because he did not pay the bill for the arena. He did not pay the insurance bill. He did not pay for the security that was needed, which was required in Spain and maybe required everywhere. I don't know. And I and all the other speakers were told, don't leave your hotel room. Don't come here. We don't know if the crowd's going to go crazy. We don't know if they're going to be angry. And the police came in because now they need mob control for this. And it was like one of the most bizarre experiences of my life, but it turned into something fantastic because that mob that could not get in found out what was needed to pay the security, to pay for the stadium, to pay for everything. And they raised it there on the spot. They crowdsourced and crowdfunded what was needed to open the doors. They did it out of their pockets. I mean, it's really going around with your hat out saying, can you help? We need 5,000 or whatever it was. They raised the money. It's still one of the greatest stories of my life because then I got a phone call saying, we're telling all the speakers, you don't have to come because we actually can't even pay you, but we got the people here and we got the stadium here and you can get on stage. And I and a bunch of the other speakers, we went anyway and we did our presentations. So for me, if somebody has a dream, whether it's to get a book published or to get a movie produced or to get anything done, crowdfunding is one of the greatest tools that we have available to us. It's a magic wand to success.
Amazing. Well, I don't want to rob any time on the crowdfunding side, but I will say I did crowdfunding for one of my books. And I did it on Kickstarter first as a self-published book, and it blew my mind how well it did. And then redid it a year later on a thing called Publishizer, which is actually a crowdfunder done for the sake of basically getting you in front of publishers so they can see how many books you sold, see your book proposal, and that's got my publisher for the second one. So I did this crowdfunding with the same, and it blew my mind how supportive people were and how much people wanted to see the dream come to life. So you're right, crowdfunding is amazing.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome. So what I'd like to do, because again, I know we're pressed for time, so if I'd like to open it up for questions. If people have questions for Dr. Joe, this is your one opportunity to make this happen. And like I said, we have a short amount of time, so kind of first come, first serve, we'll have to go. By the way, we're right at 111 people online right now as we're asking this question. So that's pretty cool.
As this is a boot camp,
so I'm just going to hand it if you're okay.
And it's a private boot camp. Well, it's for people who came into the boot camp. Then I'm going to cut the video there, but I hope you enjoyed that behind the scenes footage of Joe Vitale from The Secret. Hope you enjoyed that. Lots of love. Keep going for your dreams.
Hi, Dr. Joe. It's great to be able to ask you a question face to face.
Yeah.
So